And welcome to Tiki Man and the Viking podcast. He is Tiki Man.
I am H.B. Barlow, the historical crime fiction author of the Ark City Confidential Chronicles and the Wichita Chronicles. He, of course, is Viking.
I am William Bryan Johnson, author of Held to Pay, The Dark Cry of Aristid, and Middle-Aged Man in a Trash Can. And we have a special guest today.
We do, because we've always talked about this podcast being about creatives, and this is the first time we're going to be talking to somebody who doesn't deal in the world of words, but the world of art. Wade Hate Hampton is the art director for Spectrum Promo, and in his other hours, he is a fine artist, illustrator, and filmmaker. He worships David Lynch and is trying desperately to start production on his first feature-length film soon. We welcome Wade Hate Hampton. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. This is exciting.
You want to start? You start. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
I was looking on your Wade Hate website, and one of the things that says, my ultimate dream as an artist is to make something amazing. I haven't done that yet. What is your definition of amazing?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I haven't updated that website in 8 billion years, so
Have you made something amazing?
Well, yeah, I think a couple of times. I feel like my first love is painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a couple of paintings in my lifetime, if I'm being brutally honest with myself, that I'm really happy with. Like, it's what I've wanted to do. My struggle as a creative, and I've learned to kind of embrace it a little bit, is I feel like I rarely in my mind say I want something to be like this and then I create it. It feels like I have to stumble onto it. And my favorite paintings tend to be paintings that I've painted over 3 or 4 times.
Oh.
And as I paint over them, I let the old parts of it stick out, and then I start to get real excited about what it looks like. So yeah, I've probably made a couple of things that I've been like, that's peak what I was trying to do. But I don't know if you guys remember the great Clark Britton. I was real close with him. He was a professor at WSU, and he just died last year, and he was almost 95. And I always said he was the best artist in the state. And he was brilliant. He said to me once that we're artists, 90% of what we make is crap. And I remember thinking, Clark, you think that about your work? And he was like, oh, yeah. And I thought, well, shit, if Clark feels that way, then I guess I'm fine, because I think he was absolutely brilliant. So.
You referenced something about painting over paintings. It seems analogous to what the writers use as plotter versus pantser. The plotter, I'm going to identify everything in this story, start to finish, the highs, the lows. The pantser's I got a general idea and I'm just going to wing it. So from that analogy, coming as writers as we are, do you feel you're more of a pantser as an artist?
Well, when I was in my 20s, I was kind of obsessed with this idea of political art. I don't mean political art, but it had to say something. It had to mean something. So I would go in with something I wanted my art to say. And I've gotten to a point now where I'm more, I don't know if this is answering your question, but I'm a lot more interested, let's say with painting, in the creation of a painting. And what I mean by that is the mark making, how I throw paint, how this figurative abstract might become more abstract or a little more photorealistic. And a lot of times I'll just start painting. In most cases, I just start pushing paint. I have no idea what the painting is going to be. And as the paint starts to go, I go like, oh, and I kind of joke that I used to really push myself. And now I probably have 6 subjects, because it would be like, oh, mother and child. Everybody likes that. But what I liked about it is I didn't have to think about that. It was about the creation of how it all lays out. So I think I've always said the most comfortable I am as an artist is what I would call a collage artist, which is you give me everything I get to work with and then say, make something out of it. It's, the most terrifying thing is the idea that you get to do whatever you want. So if you limit me on a palette, I think, oh, I'm only going to use these 3 colors and I'm going to use 1 paintbrush. That's more exciting to me, because then I feel like I'm not going to fall down on a crutch of unlimited possibilities, if that makes sense.
As a creative, probably one of the most dangerous things to say is that I'm limiting you to, because I tend to rebel horribly against that.
Sure.
Are you one that can say, I'm only going to use this, and do that, or do
Well,
you find that
it's cheating because I'm saying it to myself. I know I can
oh
break
yeah.
it at any point, but I do it more like, oh, I like this challenge,
Hmm.
you know.
Okay.
But yeah, I can rebel against myself,
Yeah.
so that's not a problem.
I think
does
we
that
all
s-
do at times.
Sure.
does that same attitude translate over to filmmaking? Because when I was studying filmmaking, it was about a script, and even though you worship David Lynch, I mean, there's a structure, there's an
It's
aspect of his work that is methodical, even though it seems free flowing. So how does
yeah, because
the painting translate to the filmmaking?
it's funny because I think an answer full circle to what you first said, now that it's digital, I've had times where I have had shots on a timeline and I've literally kind of pushed a couple around and let them sit on top of each other weird and hit play just to visually see what happens.
Whoa.
And you can do that digitally real easy.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing an interview with Lynch about Elephant Man, and there's this kind of dream sequence at the end, and he was talking about that took weeks because they had to use optical printers and all this stuff to overlay
Right.
the images. Well, now you can do it in 30 seconds, you know.
Right.
And so, to answer your question, I have written numerous screenplays and feature-length screenplays, and always felt like, oh, I can't shoot these; are too complicated. Because I've done enough, I realize what you know, it's me and like three other people with no money making this, so it's not like I got a production studio behind me. But to answer your question, so I can write, beginning, middle, and end, and most everything we've shot, even the most strange thing, has a script. But there's enough films out there that tell a straight ahead story. I'm probably, I don't want to say obsessed, but I'm a lot more interested in the abstraction of things a little bit. So there's always a beginning, middle, and an end. It's funny because I'll have people act in my stuff, read the script, be excited, watch the film, and then like a year later say, "Oh, is that what that was about?" And I'm like, because I don't talk about the stories publicly. I'm
Right.
kind of believe that it's up to your interpretation. But I
Right.
tell them in depth what it is about, and they still have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. And I'm okay with that. And there's two sides. I mean, there's a part of me that knows kind of what I'm wanting to get, but when it comes to maybe editing, or you'll go back and get a couple of shots, I'll go, oh, I want to push this, oddness a little more, or maybe this is too straight ahead and I didn't want this to come off this on the nose. So it's again, it's all that it's like painting in the sense that you're exploring. I call it throwing paint
Hmm.
because there's a painter in town. I won't say his name, but he teaches and he says, I always tell the story about you in your studio as painters a lot of time. We used to jokingly call our bucket of water that sat too long stink water because it gets smelly real quick. So every studio had a bucket of stink water. And if a painting wasn't working, before I would leave the studio, I'd take that bucket and I'd throw it on top of the painting and just leave. And then the next day you had a whole new painting because you threw paint and you do it and you come back and you kind of go like, oh, now something's exciting and you'd work back into it. So when I'm doing filmmaking or anything, I call it throwing paint because it's like, well, if I'm trying to execute a deliberate, script or whatever, that's not nearly as exciting as throwing some paint and then going, well, now this is exciting. I never thought about this happening. So, but if that answers your question in a very
Yeah, well, no, it does because again, I think back to when I went to school, it was all on film. You had it developed. There
right,
was not that chance of, the optical printer, as you pointed out, was the greatest tool that we had,
right,
but that took a long time. You had to
right,
get definitive shots. I think the world of digital filmmaking has made it possible for folks with your sensibility to push that envelope. And I think that's great. It's like, are you crushing eggshells like Da Vinci did to make paints and tempera? Or
right.
are you using, acrylic? You have so many tools now at your disposal. I think most artists, and I say that generically, have a golden opportunity in this day and age to do more with their art because the resources are greater. Now, what did you start with? When did you start making films? How long ago?
Um, I'm 58. I think the first film I ever made, I was 23.
Okay.
And It's funny because I did shoot one film on film. There was a film called Mole Man, and we shot it on a Russian 16 millimeter
Oh, jeez.
Krasnogorsk. They still sell them. And shot it. I bought an old reel-to-reel with the
Yeah,
little
yeah,
viewer going,
yeah.
and I had the tape kind of cut that, and I took
Right.
it to where is that place in town? It's not
Molars?
McClellan. No, that's a good. It's another place, but I brought in my reel-to-reel, and they gave me a VHS
Oh
of
Oh,
wow.
it.
jeez. Oh
And then
my
I
God.
watched it and played my guitar along with it. And then my friend Alec Walterscheid used to, and his dad used to have a video production company in town called WP Post. He stuck the VHS in and he put my cassette in and they sandwiched it together, but I hadn't played it long enough. So we had another third of the film. So we just started the guitar over again and we just sat there and cheered because the guitar just kept hitting at the perfect time.
Nice.
And so there was no dialogue. But I had a girlfriend that had one of the first, I think it was mini DV or high eight. I don't know. It was after the super VHS, but she let me borrow it. And I bought through WSU, what do you call it? It was Final Cut. It was the
Oh
first
my God.
thing of that, and I
Hmm.
couldn't believe I was editing a film. And I bought a Canon GL1, I remember. So I had a camera that was shooting on tape. I didn't know how to use it. Got a whole film on it, and Alec afterwards came over and goes, "Wow, this is a great camera. Your film looks good. It's got that gain." And I go, "What's that? What is that?" He goes, that's what brightens up the image." I was like, "Oh, I shot a whole film with this whole thing turned down." I just kept blasting more light on it so you could see things. I could have just turned a fucking dial on it.
Uh,
So around that time, did one film and I shot some digital, but yeah, and it was so easy now. And just to answer, kind of wanted to say one thing about what you said. You now have all these things that make it so easy, and I get so mad at myself that I'm not finding excuses, but I'm acting like, why are you not making more? It's
right,
so
right.
accessible. Your damn phone, you just turn it on, you got a film. Back then, I put an ad in the paper looking for film equipment. You used to be able to put,
No,
wanted, and I had the weirdest people contact me. I went into trailer parks, everything, people digging out cameras and projectors, and I'm paying $10. I had like 12 projectors at one point. And I found editing equipment. I went to Moeller's and they said, "You missed this by 6 months. All the news stations are going over to video. They sold off all their old film equipment. So we don't have any." But I worked
jeez.
so hard to get my hands on anything back then. And now it's in your hand and I'm sitting on my couch. I mean, I'm making stuff, but I tell
Right,
myself, you have access to the world. And literally with the internet, you have access to the world to show it. So at my age, I have to keep saying, dude, get busy living or get busy dying because
right,
goddamn
right,
stuff.
right.
Anyway,
But I think
How
that's
does,
the hardest issue is how many hands do we have in different pots and how much can we
right,
keep going?
right. Yeah,
I would say as a creative, and I'm sure you guys deal with this all the day, I like to do so many different things that sometimes you feel like I'd say to myself, would you just focus on one of them? My last art show, I had 105 drawings, I had 12 paintings, and then in the middle of it, I decided I wanted to make a promotional video for the art show, which turned out to be 17 minutes and 45 seconds. So I was doing all this at the same time, and I enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but I was like, God, pick a medium, Hampton, Jesus. So,
why? Why though? I mean, it's
no,
like
I know, but when you're
no,
stressed,
right,
you
right.
kind of
Well, yeah.
go, maybe I should just paint, but it's
Well,
like, yeah.
and that's my problem too. I mean, I write horror, I write fantasy, I write sci-fi. My next novel coming out's a thriller, so I can't decide.
But if that, artist, then you're right. You're doing what you should be doing, which is
Right,
being all over
exactly,
the place.
exactly. No, okay, so you talk about with filmmaking and you can reach the world, and it's true, you can upload the film somewhere. Is it more exciting to be able to upload a film, let's say to YouTube or anywhere else, and the world sees it, or is it more thrilling for you to have a show in which you get to press flesh, as it were, with people coming to see and appreciate your work rather than just watching it online?
I would say first and foremost, the most exciting thing is that it's made, that it exists,
Yeah,
that I made it. I don't know. It's funny because I know people at the Orpheum, good friends, that, run things over there. And I only say it in the sense that they said, if Art Brut Film ever does their first feature, you're going to show it at the Orpheum, aren't you? And I said, yeah,
Yeah,
let me don't if on the first one, just let me make the damn thing because
right,
that puts too much pressure on, oh, there's an audience. And if you got 90 minutes of people sitting there, are they going to want to sit? I don't want to think about that. I just want to make the thing.
right.
So in the first feature, which, hopefully happens, there's no reason you shouldn't. I'm making it literally for me and the couple of people we're making it with as an experiment just to say, see, we can make a feature. Now
Exactly,
we know
exactly.
it's not that hard. Let's go on to two. So to answer your question, I think if it was being screened at a place like Orpheum, and I've had a couple of shorts shown there, so I kind of understand the experience of people reacting and how exciting that is. But the idea of doing a feature that you know is odd and knowing half that audience is going, Jesus Christ, what the hell is this? Is not the most comforting feeling. But I was just talking to a buddy I make films with last night because we went out to do some location scouting. And I said to him, if I was like, I love this film, I'm so happy with this film, even if it's the weirdest thing ever made, I'm proud of it, I could probably screen that and interact with people. But to answer your question, I think it depends on the film. The nice thing about throwing it online is it's out of here. If
Right.
somebody messages me, which they have, and said, "Oh my God, I watched your film," and give me a little breakdown, that's the greatest thing in the world. But I don't know if I want to be face to face with people going, I didn't get it. It's like,
That's the
I think
majority of them. Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's our world too. I mean,
right,
I write odd fiction,
right.
right.
so there's a lot of people that have read my books and said, "Yeah, I don't know," but that's what I
By the
put
same
out
I
t-
there.
think I
by the
think
same
art.
token, hold on a second. By the same token, when we've been down to conferences together and people meet you and they get to connect the person with the odd work, maybe they go, "Okay, I kind of get it because it's not some suit and tie guy."
Yep.
Yeah, but don't you have people that do get it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see,
Yes,
that's to me the thing about art. It's that old saying, kind of riches are in the niches. I feel like I made this little thing years ago. It was like I think it was top 10 rule. Wade hates top 10 rules for making art. And I share it every once in a while. And one of them is basically like, make your art for you and it'll speak to your audience.
right.
Because it may be very small, but that's who you're going for. I mean, if you want to be it's great if it goes to the masses, but a lot of times the stuff that really goes to the masses is, pretty milk toast.
Mm.
And so it's a lot more exciting to me to do something that's over here in its weird little world, and those few people go, I know exactly what you're doing, and this speaks to my soul. That's what I'm excited about.
Well, yeah, there's a classic line from I think it's Cyril Connolly: "Better to write for yourself and have no audience than to write for an audience and have no self." So I
Exactly.
mean, it just yeah, I mean, I remember years ago talking to a young writer, and I asked her what she was currently working on. She said, steampunk, and then without a pause, she said, "Because that's what's selling now." It's like, sweetie, by the time you're done writing that novel, a year
They're
goes
moving
by,
on.
and that they're
Yep.
moving on. So why aren't you writing steampunk because you like it and
Right.
somebody will eventually find it?
And now it's
That might
Dragon Romantasy and weird hockey adventures. So
Now, if you just merge those two,
I
you got
actually came up with an idea that merged everything together. And yeah, I told somebody the idea and they looked at me horrified and said, "Don't write that."
to see, and to me, that's the one you should write.
And it may be
is
one
there
that I play with someday.
is there an idea, an artistic idea, whether it's a film or a painting that you have wanted to create? I mean, we're talking about I'm talking about conceptually more than a specific. Has there been something you've wanted to create but didn't think that you were ready or able to do it?
Oh, I think a feature film. I mean, that's definitely it because, like I said, I wrote two finished screenplays, and I think I have like three or four that are like two-thirds done that I was really happy with. But I always kept saying, and I mean, I was proud of myself because the more I was making things and growing up, I was realizing, oh God, you're just setting down a path of misery because this is going to be too hard. All the joy you should be experiencing will not be there. And but now, since I've got more and more serious about filmmaking, in my part time, I'm really like looking at it like, okay, while you're doing this, make sure you're realizing, oh, that was fun. I should do more of that, or that's too stressful. You know, if we got to go, like we did a film called Destroy the Bones, and we're out on this dirt road north of town on Woodlawn. 1,000 cars are driving by. We're getting pelted by sand, wind, everything. You know, still a good day, but I'm like, maybe we don't shoot on a road that has that many cars on. You know, you're doing this checklist. So, and to answer your question, the feature is the goal, but I feel excited because I'm starting to get a better idea of, you know, maybe you limit the cast to 3 people.
Right.
Maybe you have only 2 locations. Maybe a lot of this is indoors, but if it is outdoors, maybe it's just sound and sound effects, not a lot of dialogue. Yeah, so I have this like checklist of things to say because when you do it that way, you might actually enjoy the process. Because I have these ideas for films, but boy, howdy, you suddenly show up and you're just kind of like already miserable because it's like people are looking at it and you're like, all right, guess we got to get in this ditch over here and try to point that. And you're just like, why did I write this? Because that's the thing. You guys already know this, but when you're writing the way you guys write, that's it. You get to make the world and people get to read it and experience the world. But when you got to go shoot the fucking thing,
Yeah.
God damn, it's like,
So
well,
that's so in
it was
your case,
exciting on the page, you know, right?
so that in your case, that's an example of the director being upset with the producer for hiring this dumbass writer.
And it's all me. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that, well, and that, to being serious, that's part of the dilemma is so many of the roles are me, you know? So, I mean, I have a few people I work with. They're the greatest, nicest people, will bust ass for you, but 90% of it's me. And when you show up on set, you're kind of like already exhausted. Like the last thing I did, I also acted in it as one of the stars, and that was its own thing too.
Oh,
Because
that was the trailer, right? That you did.
that was that big long. Well, the whole film. It's Vampire Christmas was my last
Right.
art show, and we did a 17-minute and 45 where Andy played Wade Hampton and I played Wade Haight, and we looked close enough alike. And then our muse, because we can't paint, turns him into Santa Claus and me into a vampire. And you can tell it's a very serious film. But the funny thing is, at the core of that film, everything that's in it is true. It's all the stuff I deal with internally as an artist. So I told people when I was pitching it to them, I said, this is a true story. We're taking what goes on in my head and I'm making, you know, this visual representation. And Andy goes, I like that you could have the film done and then said, now here's the other version of the film, and it's just you sitting on the couch murmuring to yourself. And I said, that's true. Everything that's in this film is in my head all the time.
Oh
so,
my God.
We will be back with Wade Hampton in a couple weeks. Until then, stay tuned. Read a book, watch a film, and maybe go look at some art.
Tiki Man and the Viking Podcast brought to you by Rumination of Thunder Media. The following intro and outro music was used for this media project. The music Find Them by Alexander Nakrata. Free download from filmmusic.io. License Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International.